Hello.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Mel, as always when I'm in your presence.
And same. I feel the same, Timothy. There you go. I've called you by your full name. Do you know it is hailing, raining, thunderstorm, and lightning here, but that's not why we're live. Tim, I want to share something with you. It's a personal experience. I kind of had this aha moment, late 20s, early 30s, where I thought, my life is like all these movies that are appearing in my head. So I thought we might share for the audience on the basis of that a little bit about what's coming up next, which is we're going to focus on the narrative. And I wondered if you could, give me a little bit more insight as to what is happening in my head with all these movies and all these stories that are appearing there.
Well, I just want to know what they are.
Some of them are not good, Tim.
Like,
Some of them are really seriously. But no, it's just a pattern that I recognized.
Sure. So not claiming expertise in this space by any means, but recounting the expertise of those that I have sought out, engaged with, had conversation with, and also read research. Like I won't lift it up, but there's a pile of stuff right here next to me.
I believe you. I've seen your pile of research. You can lift it up for us now.
This is just the books.
Yeah. I think I've got a similar pile as well. But anyway, back to your research.
And then there's the online stuff. So what you're doing is essentially engaging in one of the processes which is believed to be uniquely human, which is the creation of story. And that happens for lots of reasons. And it happens in a number of ways. And the simplest way to describe this is that the brain processes information largely in two ways: experientially and conceptually, analytically. So when we are listening to speech, that is conceptual interpretation, right? We're digesting words, we're disseminating sentence structure, and we're figuring out what the meaning is. Same with numbers, shapes, forms. The other side is then sort of basically experiencing that. So sort of applying, and this can happen, both, sort of separately, but more or less feeling like it happens at the same time. We're figuring out, well, what does this mean to me, and how does that basically define how I show up in the world and how the world shows up through me? So we basically play out a storybook form in order to view the world and to shape the way that we view the world and the world views us.
I love that. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I love that, Tim, and we're certainly going to unpack that a little bit further in November when we focus on the narrative. I guess what I've always been curious about as well is, how is this going to help leaders? And I wonder if you could just really quickly for our audience, maybe talk to how, some of those stories can help us from an inspiring others and a leading perspective.
Okay, so specifically to answer that question, there's kind of two ways really. One is, narrative storytelling as a mode of communication is incredibly inspiring.
It is, isn't it?
Has to be practiced. There are certain ways of forming story, of communicating story, whether that's like this, showing up, or whether it's just audio, spoken word, and written. But there are ways of shaping an experiential mode of communication, which means that the information that you're sharing is received in an experiential way.
Yeah.
And this is not done with statistics and facts and figures, even visual diagrams like graphs and graphics and so on, right?
Yeah.
You know, it needs to be formed in a way that the brain receives it as an experience, something that can be anchored around. So you can use you see this most predominantly in organizations in marketing, right? But that can also apply to speaking to risk from a governance or a fiscal perspective. It can also be applied to thinking about strategy and, of course, the things that we talk about, purpose and values and the role of leaders. So that's one way, just as a way for leaders to communicate, which is vastly more impactful than those more conceptual ways of communicating. The other way where there's a direct benefit is leading with or from story. And that really is about, firstly, owning your own story, owning your own purpose, values, mission, bringing all of your experience to bear and forming a story about why you're showing up, why this is important to you, whether that's a project, a team initiative, a launch, or it's the organization that you're leading or building. And that then really sort of anchors you. It sort of places you, grounds you in the experience that you're having. And that then correlates to this whole body of work around authentic leadership. And that, again, is very inspiring when it's genuine. And really enables leaders to sort of interact with the world around them, the team, the customers, their suppliers, in a different way to a disassociative, non-story based approach when it's not about your role within, it's more about your role on. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, Tim. You know how I feel about the narrative. This is one of the most exciting topics for me, really, that we're covering. As an executive coach, I know the power in understanding our own stories to shape how we lead, but also as a leader, having led teams, the most powerful messages were shared through storytelling. So I'm looking forward to this one. I'm going to leave it at that because I want people to come along and hear what else you've got to say. It's going to be a really powerful month in November, and we will provide you with a link in this newsfeed to be able to register to join us for the narrative in November with Tim Collins and myself. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you indeed. Final thing, just very quickly.
Yes.
Not just content. So yes, there will be some
of course
content up front. Hopefully experiential, not conceptual content. But also, this for us, this is an experiential learning environment that we have co-designed. This is an action-based lab. So there's a range of sessions over the month where really the opportunity is to do some of this work, apply some of these things that we've just talked about, and there's more, and basically put this stuff into action and actively create your future with your story. I'll leave it there.
Wonderful. Thanks, Tim. See you all soon.
See you soon, we hope.